The state of Tennessee is making it easier and faster for landlords to evict tenants. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Tennessee. Now, I don't talk about Tennessee a lot, but you know what? Tennessee is one of those states. It's a landlord-friendly place where the laws are written in our favor. Okay, so this is the kind of place that I'm talking about that you should be investing in instead of places like New York and California. Now, I know you're not going to get the same appreciation there, but you're going to have that peace of mind knowing that, hey, everyone isn't constantly trying to attack you and take away your property rights. So the article I have today, it talks about how the legislature recently passed a bill to make it a little bit quicker for landlords to be able to evict those non-paying tenants. And I appreciate these sorts of laws. I think it should be quick and easy to remove problem tenants from our properties, okay? We shouldn't be forced to subsidize their living while they slow roll through the eviction process, okay? This is something that we see a lot in states where they don't care much about landlord rights. They will slow roll the process as much as possible, continue to file a ton of continuances, and drag the whole thing out so that the tenant has 3, 4, 5, 6 months or more in order to get the whole process completed. Okay, so yeah, it's a nightmare. It can cost landlords tens of thousands of dollars, and at least in some places, such as Tennessee, they're working to prevent that from happening. So, you know what? Even in a place where there are squatters who are taking over properties, this is still a good thing because you know what? You can at least get that squatter out of there relatively quickly. That's what this is really about, okay? We need to be able to get not just squatters, but bad tenants. We need to be able to get people who aren't paying us the rent that we're owed out of the property as soon as possible. As I've mentioned many times before, we are not a homeless shelter. We are not a low-income housing provider, and we should not be expected to do so. But that is exactly what they're trying to force us to do in some states. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. So I'm just curious if you would write down in the comments what state that you own rental property in and whether you consider the place to be landlord-friendly or more tenant-friendly. Okay, and you can you don't have to say the specific state, right? If you are trying to maintain your privacy. So I will say that I've invested in the state of Arizona, the state of Kansas, the state of Missouri, and the state of Nebraska. So I've invested in 4 states, throughout my real estate investing career, and all of them are landlord-friendly places, okay? None of them are what you would consider to be a tenant-friendly place. So I do that specifically too, So anyway, let me get into this article and tell you what Tennessee is doing. This article is coming from MLK50.com, and it says, General Assembly makes Tennessee's eviction laws tougher on tenants. State becomes even more friendly with new law and the failure to establish a Memphis rental registry. So yeah, I believe the city of Memphis was also proposing having a rental registration, kind of similar to what we have here in Omaha, Nebraska. One of the things I'll say is that even though we are a landlord-friendly place, I don't like the whole rental registration thing that I'm forced to comply with. But anyway, let's see what the article says. Tenants generally don't stand much of a chance in eviction court in Shelby County. They're rarely represented by a lawyer, and most of the General Sessions civil judges overseeing cases don't take the time to explain what's going on. One of the few rights tenants have is to delay their case for 15 days, either by requesting a continuance or by disagreeing with the charge that they owe money, if it's their first time in court for that specific eviction. So yeah, they're able to file a continuance and get an additional 15 days by just disagreeing on the fact that they owe money. And my whole thing is, if the landlord is able to prove in that first court hearing that, hey, this person really does owe me money, well, there's nothing to argue. You owe the money, period. Okay, and if you request a continuance in order to, let's see here. delay their case either by requesting continuance or request a continuance. Okay, yeah, and that's a common thing that they will use to drag it out even more. But you know what? The landlord needs to get their property back as soon as possible. Period. Okay, every single day that tenant's up in there is costing the landlord money. During this delay, tenants can come up with the money they owe, work out a deal with their landlord, hire a lawyer, or find a new apartment. It's an important enough right that explaining it to tenants was one of the key ways Shelby County said it hoped to deploy a recent $250,000 grant. So they're like, okay, look at the things that they listed there. They said they can come up with the money that they owe. Now, if it's a small amount of money, I'm sure that the tenant's going to be able to come up with that money even if it's a shorter period of time. But in a lot of these cases, it's not a small amount of money. And the reason that the eviction was filed in the first place was because the tenant was unable to pay the rent. So that's not, by giving them extra time, that's not going to suddenly make it so that they are able to come up with the money. It also says, you could hire a lawyer. Well, most tenants aren't going to hire a lawyer. Okay, they're just going to realize that they owe the money, they have no defense to their case, and hiring a lawyer is not going to benefit them in any way because it would cost them more than just paying the money that they owe. Or find a new apartment. And see, I think that's really what this is coming down to, is they're trying to give the tenants extra time to find a new place to live, or give them extra time in a place, and remember that by telling the tenant, we're going to give you extra time, what they're really saying is we're going to take money out of the landlord's pocket and put it into the tenant's pocket. Literally, that is what they're doing. I know people don't see it that way, but they're literally stealing money from the landlord and giving it to the tenant by giving them extra time. Because now the landlord has to subsidize, basically not get paid rent while someone stays for free in their property. That's a complete joke. Okay, so yeah, I don't agree with giving tenants all this extra time. The Tennessee General Assembly just cut this buffer down to 7 days. The new law will take effect on July 1st. It just shortens the whole timeline in which a person can lose their home, said Brian Rees, a staff attorney at The Works, Inc., nonprofit who has represented hundreds of tenants in eviction proceedings in recent years. Things can now happen very, very quickly. Yep, I just did a whole video about what I think of these attorneys trying to fight eviction cases, right? How they are just bad attorneys who are trying to get government handouts. These nonprofits, they're funded, a lot of the times they're funded directly by the government. Okay, so yeah, I got a big problem with this sort of thing. And when you talk about, they're going to lose their homes, they're not their homes. They don't own the place. They are temporarily staying there when, based upon their contract. If they violate the terms in that contract, which is their lease, then guess what? They can be removed. All they have to do in order to stay is pay their rent and pay it on time, and maintain your property and follow the rules that are agreed upon within that contract. But you know what? A lot of people, they can't do that, and then they expect, this is my home. No, it's not. Okay, it's not. It belongs to somebody else, and that person has all the rights to it. During the Assembly's recently completed legislative session, it also shut down another attempt by the city of Memphis and Representative Dwayne Thompson to create a registry of all the city's rental housing. However, Thompson was able to pass a backup bill meant to help tenants reach their landlords with maintenance requests, though enforcement of it may prove difficult. And you know what? Rental registration, I'm not a fan. We're sitting here and we're a few years beyond when Omaha passed its rental registration law. And I've had multiple properties that have had to go through expensive inspections. Okay. I've had to do all this because I am, trying to obey the law, and I registered my rentals when I know there are, hundreds of landlords out there who never registered, never have to go through those inspections. So like I said many times before, a lot of these laws, they punish the good landlords, such as myself. They punish me by saying, hey, you have to register you have to go through these expensive inspections. You have to fix all the things that we see are wrong. And meanwhile, the landlords who are the bad actors, they're not registering and they never get inspected because of that. So I have to jump through all these hoops and incur all these additional expenses because of your stupid new law. Yeah, that plan worked out great. But anyway, I'm going to put a link to this article in the description down below and let me know what you think of this whole situation.